The evening of March 13th, 1997, descended upon Phoenix in a velvety darkness characteristic of the desert. At 10 o'clock, the city was alive with its usual rhythm. The lights of skyscrapers pierced the gloom, and streams of headlights flowed through the veins of the freeways. But at this moment, thousands of people froze, their heads tilted back. Their gazes were fixed not on the ground, but on the sky. Something colossal was moving slowly and majestically over the city. 5 amber lights, arranged in a flawless V formation, floated in an absolute unnatural silence. Between the lights, a massive dark hull could be discerned, like a wedge or a boomerang, so immense that it blotted out the stars behind it. It wasn't flying, it was making a passage. There was no roar of engines, no familiar hum of aviation, only a silent, mesmerizing movement that seemed to warp the very concept of what was possible. In that minute, the familiar world for thousands of Arizona residents fractured, revealing that beyond the understood and the ordinary, something entirely different exists. Just a few hours earlier, this evening was no different from hundreds of others. North of Phoenix, in the town of Prescott, a former police officer and amateur astronomer was adjusting his telescope, hoping for a clear sky to observe the Hale-Bopp comet. In a Phoenix suburb, on a backyard patio, coals crackled in a barbecue grill as a family prepared for an outdoor dinner, enjoying the cool air after a hot day. The pilot of a small private plane was conducting his pre-flight check, preparing for a night flight to Las Vegas. Their plans were simple and clear, their world stable and predictable. None of them suspected that in a couple of hours, their eyes would witness a spectacle that would forever divide their lives into before and after and force them to question the solidity of reality. The first signal came around 8 o'clock in the evening. The amateur astronomer in Prescott, looking up from his telescope's eyepiece, noticed a strange formation of lights in the northwest. It didn't look like planes flying in formation. The lights moved in sync as a single entity and had an unusual amber hue. He strained to hear the sound of engines, but in the night's desert silence, there was nothing but the whisper of the wind. Puzzled, he reported his observation to a local air phenomenon research center. His report was accepted, but without much enthusiasm. It was just the first alarm bell, a lone voice trying to describe the inexplicable. At that moment, he didn't yet know that he had become the first link in a chain of witnesses that would grow longer with each passing minute. Like a slow-burning wildfire, news of the strange lights began to spread southward. The object moved, and new witnesses appeared along its path. The phone lines of the National UFO Reporting Center began to heat up with calls. Air traffic controllers at Luke Air Force Base and Sky Harbor Airport received queries from pilots and civilians trying to understand what object was in their airspace. But the radars were empty. The authorities remained silent, unable to provide an explanation. The tension mounted. People came out of their houses, stopping their cars on the shoulders of highways. Descriptions of a giant, silent craft were passed from mouth to mouth. What began as an isolated observation was turning into a mass phenomenon, engulfing an entire state and baffling all official services. By 10 o'clock, the object reached the climactic point of its journey, Phoenix. Now it was seen not by a few, but by tens of thousands. It floated so low that some witnesses claimed they could have thrown a stone at it. The family having dinner in their backyard froze with forks in their hands, watching as a giant shadow covered their home. Drivers on the I-17 freeway watched through their windshields as the 5 lights glided silently over the stream of traffic. A pilot awaiting clearance for takeoff informed the controller that he was seeing something unlike any aircraft he knew. The scale of the object was staggering. It was described as a structure several football fields in length. This was the moment of truth, a direct, undeniable encounter with a mystery. An irreversible event, seared into the city's collective memory. After passing over Phoenix, the object continued its path to the southeast and vanished into the night as quietly as it had appeared. The morning brought not answers, but even greater confusion. While witnesses shared their shock, officials made a statement. Representatives from the U.S. Air Force explained that the lights seen by thousands were merely flares dropped by a 10 Warthog aircraft during a military exercise at a range in southern Arizona. But this version crumbled when confronted with witness testimonies. People had seen a solid, structured craft flying against the wind, not separate falling lights. Even the governor of Arizona at the time later admitted to having witnessed the phenomenon himself. Videos taken that night became the subject of endless debate. The mystery of the Phoenix lights was never solved. It remained in history as one of the most massive and compelling pieces of evidence of an encounter with the unknown, leaving behind the ultimate question: what truly floated in the sky over Arizona on that March night?